Thank you for watching this Fringe Academy recording. You can view all videos and resources from past Fringe Academies on the Fringe Academy resources page of our website. You can also book free tickets for any upcoming Fringe Academies by going to the What's On section.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the How to Market Your Event Brighton Fringe Academy. I am Rhiannon, I'm the marketing manager. And then do you two want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Matt. I'm the marketing assistant at Brighton Fringe.
Yeah, I'm George. I'm the marketing coordinator.
How is everybody? Everyone good? Everyone well? Cool. I think we might just wait one more minute and see if anyone's going to join us, and then we'll get started. Couple of bits. We are going to we're going to give you a lot of information. So if you've got any pens and papers available, feel free to make notes. We are going to send this presentation to everybody after the event, so you can have it to flick through. I'd also like to let you know that we will be recording this event. So obviously, if you want to turn your cameras off, please feel free, change your names, hide your identities, go for it. And then, if anyone has any questions as we go through, we are going to be stopping at intervals to answer questions. So if you could just pop those in the chat, that would be really helpful. And we'll sort of have a pause, answer a few questions, do a bit more, have a pause, answer a few questions, do a bit more, and then we'll answer some more questions at the end. Any we don't get round to, because obviously we don't want to keep you too late, we can send a follow-up email with any more sort of answers to your questions. We can send that to the whole group so everybody gets answers to those questions. I think we might as well get started, considering it's already 6 minutes past 5. But yeah, this is just a quick run through of what we're going to be going through today. We're going to talk a bit about what is marketing, what Brighton Fringe is doing marketing wise to raise awareness of Brighton Fringe. We're going to talk a bit about your event, finding your audiences and things like that. We're going to talk about top tips of how to market on a budget. We're also going to give some advice on working with the press, how to write a budget for your event, writing a timetable and evaluating your event. And then we've got some final thoughts just at the end. Firstly, we just wanted to talk about what is marketing. So marketing is, I'm sure everyone knows, but just to clarify, just in case, marketing is obviously the action of promoting your show and selling tickets. But when you break it down, it includes other elements such as identifying your audience, setting targets for yourself, and creating promotional materials, and evaluating your results at the end of your festival run. Next, we're going to talk a bit about what Brighton Fringe is doing to help sort of raise awareness of the event and let people in the city and beyond know what is going on, what's happening. So firstly, we're producing a daily diary. So this is different to the brochure that we've traditionally done. It will be a smaller publication. It's going to be A5. It's about 100 pages long, and we're distributing 50,000 copies around the city and beyond. 30,000 of those are going to go to sort of key areas such as cafes, restaurants, pubs, stations, tourist information, libraries, things like that. And we're going to deliver another 12,000 door-to-door across the city. We've also organised some out-of-home advertising, so we will be displaying information about Brighton Fringe on bus backs. We've got a marketing campaign up on Queen's Road on a digital billboard. We've got a poster campaign going along the beach, and obviously we are doing our venue boards, which if you've been to Brighton Fringe before, you will have seen, which let people walking by know that those venues are taking part in Brighton Fringe. And yeah, push that message a bit more across the city. We'll also be doing some sponsored social media campaigns around the festival time, especially around things like our bursaries and our Dutch season. And we're also collaborating with other festivals to increase exposure. So we're working in partnership with people like Brighton Festival and Artists Open Houses, who are also taking place in May, to collaborate on a few bits and promote the sort of festivals in May in Brighton. Next, we just wanted to talk a bit about your event and how to start thinking about planning your marketing campaign around your event. So what we wanted to introduce to you guys was the idea of a SWOT analysis. Some of you may be aware of this, but it's just quite an easy technique to start thinking about your event and how you're going to market your event. So that's what you do is you break it up into 4 different areas. You think about your strengths, your weaknesses, and your opportunities and your threats to your event. So we've just got a little example of this. It might be a good idea for some of you to make some notes under these headings and see what you think may affect or help your event when marketing it. So for Brighton Fringe, this is an old SWOT analysis that was done a few years ago, but we thought about our strengths as, we have a big economic and artistic impact on the city. We're a largely economically accessible festival, so we have free events and we have quite a good sort of average price. So those are some of our strengths. Some of our weaknesses are things like, we are reliant on Arts Council funding and things like that. Some of our opportunities are based around, we could work collaboratively with other festivals going on in the city. We can collaborate with other fringes happening across the world. So yeah, we've got lots of opportunities that we can maximise on. And some of our threats, so, currently, one of the biggest threats to us at the moment is the cost of living crisis, whether people have, a bit of spare money to come and enjoy the arts. That is one of our threats, and that's something that we have to keep in the forefront of our mind at all times. We wanted you to take a couple of minutes to think about your sort of strengths and weaknesses and opportunities. We were going to do something a bit collaborative, but I think we've got a lot to get through in a short amount of time, so we're just going to carry on thinking about that. But a SWOT analysis would be a really great idea for you guys to start thinking about, start assessing how you're going to market your event and what strengths you bring to Brighton Fringe. The next thing we wanted to talk about was finding your audience. So we wanted you to think about these few things. We wanted you to think about their life stage. Where are your audience in their career? Are they sort of flourishing in their career? Are they in education? Do they have children? Think about what life stage you're trying to attract. Think about their demographics. So economically, have they had access to the arts before? And then also think about their attitudes, values and behaviours. So how do these people think? What do they operate on? What's important to them? And then also think about their geographical location. So obviously people with similar attitudes and interests tend to congregate in certain areas. So it's things that we can help you with if you're not from Brighton, is sort of identifying geographical areas that might sort of contain your audiences. So it's things like areas like Hanover and Hollingdean tend to have a lot of young families and a lot of children if you've got a children's show coming. Areas such as Hove and Preston Park tend to have sort of older people with a bit more spare money who might be interested in sort of theatre shows. And then there's sort of a big student area along Lewis Road, Moulscombe, where Brighton University and up to Sussex University is. And, whether students are an audience you will be targeting, we can let you know those areas those audiences will be living in. So yeah, we just wanted you to start thinking about how you're going to find your audience and who they are. We also wanted to talk about a couple of techniques you can use to market to your audience. So obviously there's a couple of different ways you could do this. You could try and approach your audience on a broad scale. So that's sort of having mass appeal, high visibility, and using simple generic messages that aren't targeted. So things you could use for this are, outdoor advertising, things like magazine advertising, newspaper advertising that will reach a large audience, but they might not necessarily be your target audience. You can think about a more targeted approach. So finding individuals with high relevance who would be interested in your shows. So ways you could do this would be, sponsored ads. Say I think I've seen a listing for a show that is based around a popular TV show. Could you sponsor an ad that is targeted at an audience that is interested in that TV show in the local area, and target by geographical location as well? Both these ideas have pros and cons to them. So some have a broad, sort of wider mass appeal, and so the broad ones, have a wider mass appeal and have good brand visibility and can help you seem sort of like a larger organisation than you are, or a larger production than you are. But the pros of targeted is, you're going to get a much higher rate of engagement. It's easier to track, and you're going to get a higher uptake on tickets if you're finding those right people. The cons for both of those, though, are on a broad audience, you can have vague messaging. So people don't quite know whether your event is for you, or targeted. Sometimes they can seem a bit niche. Your show could seem a bit niche and you might have a slower pickup rate. So it's thinking about the balance and what you think suits your show. We would always recommend to go for a more targeted approach rather than trying to sort of blast everybody. But it's obviously ultimately up to you to make that decision. Finally,
we got a few people in the waiting room that want to be added in.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I think I'm not hosting that.
Okay, all right. Sorry, there we go. Hello, sorry to you who have been waiting in the waiting room. We've just done most of the first section, but what we will do is anything that you guys missed, we will be sending this presentation out to everybody after the fact, so you can have a quick read up on everything that we've been talking about earlier, and we will also stop for some questions shortly as well, so any questions you've got, just add them to the chat. And then also just to let you know, those of you who've just joined, that this is being recorded, so if you want to turn your cameras off, please feel free to do so. The next bit we're going to talk about is sort of bringing all that together, thinking about the vision of your event. So think about who you are, what your show is, where you are, when and why, and then think about your target audience. So how does your target audience connect to your vision? Have you found the correct target audience? And then finally, your pricing is really important. Everyone needs to sort of consider their pricing in tandem with their target audience. Is your event going to be something people can afford to come along and see? So that's good. Oh, it's frozen. This is good. There we go. Back in the game. Finally, also, we wanted to talk about setting yourself some objectives to then evaluate your show after the fact. So one way to set objectives is through a technique called SMART. So these would be setting objectives that are specific, they're measured, they're achievable and realistic and timetabled. So obviously everyone has the objective that they want people to come to their event, but what is a really great idea is to set an objective that you can measure and it's realistic and it's timetabled. So a SMART objective, instead of I want people to come to my event, would be something along the lines of I want to sell to at least 50% capacity during my run. Then after the fact, you can re-examine that target, look at how you did, what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and you can make changes for the next Fringe you do, whether it's Brighton Fringe or you're going on somewhere else, and you can make those changes and ensure that you don't make the same mistakes again, or that you do the things that were really successful for you and really helped you sell tickets. And then I was just going to take a pause to have a look in the chat, see if we've got any questions. So technically, the first question is from Nora. So technically, if you could afford it, every show put up big posters in Brighton. Is that for, just to clarify, the show could pay for it? Yeah, the show could definitely pay. Yeah, so you could technically, we have distributors and we work with partners that have, big billboards, everything that you could possibly want to pay for. If you had the budget for, we could sort of connect you with those people. The only problem with that is sometimes they get booked up, months in advance by big advertisers and things like that. So we've managed to secure some areas, so such as bus backs and the advert on Queen's Road, but we've booked that back in the autumn. So if you're coming next year, definitely something, if you were interested in doing, we could do that. Oh, and Nora, I've also seen your question at the start saying I'm an absolute Brighton Fringe beginner and don't even know how to apply, and if it's still possible for 2022. It is still possible for 2022. You apply via Eventatron. The best thing to do would probably be to order our participant services team. The email address is on the website, but it is takepart@brightonfringe.org. And we have a deadline on Monday, which means basically anyone who registers before Monday will be included on our print, our daily diary print. But anyone who registers, we might reopen registers later after the fact, but you would only be a digital online event. You wouldn't be featured in our print. Your listing would be on our website. And then we'll do. Is it easy to be part of the magazines you were talking about? It's not necessarily easy. It depends on budget. Obviously, we would recommend everybody writing a press release, which is we're going to talk about later. But a lot of magazines will do paid advertising, so it really depends on your budget. But the way to get into these magazines for free is to write a really brilliant press release, which we're going to cover shortly, and have a really fantastic story that grabs the journalist's eye and that they want to publish in their magazine. But yeah, let's move on to the next section. So if it's stopped freezing. So now George is going to take over and talk a little bit about marketing on a budget. If he's going to go on his camera.
Yeah, I'm on it already. You muted.
Ooh.
Cool. Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm going to take you through marketing on a budget now. This is a bit of a more practical look at how you can market your event. We're going to look at some tips to help you out if you're on a bit of a tight budget this year as well. So I just check I wasn't muted then. Cool. So let's jump into the basics. So first of all, we're going to talk about your show listing copy. This is the copy that's going to describe your show, and it's kind of the first thing that people are going to look at when they click into your show on our website. You need to make sure that this is really clearly explained. So it explains your show and what you're bringing to the Fringe. It's a good idea to maybe subtly mention your audience as well. So, for example, if you're bringing a family show aimed at children and families, it's probably good to use vocabulary that would relate to that. So if it was, I don't know, some kind of magical fairy tale show, you'd use words like that, so that would captivate that audience. Include some audience reviews as well. This won't always carry a good bit of event copy, but it's nice to have. So, you know, for example, if you buy something online, I know I do, I like to look at reviews before I do that, just to make sure I'm getting what I want. It works in a similar way. Your show listing image as well. So this is the image that's going to accompany the copy. It needs to be a good image, clear, high quality, and relate to your show. This could also be like a logo for your company, maybe. Try and avoid using stock images because, you know, they don't always belong to you and it might mislead your audience in a way. You're going to make sure you've got the correct dimensions as well for that. So, you know, always read on Eventatron when you're uploading images, just to make sure that they fit the capacity. You really don't want a blurry picture as well, because it kind of might look a bit unprofessional and no one's going to want to go to a show that looks like that. Yeah, so next is word of mouth. Brighton's a pretty small city and people love talking to their friends and family. So if they come and see a show or see a poster, likelihood is that they're going to communicate that to somebody else. They might want to go and see it, so they're going to explain it to somebody. So generate good word of mouth by putting on a good show as a basis. I mean, as I just said a minute ago, like people are going to come and see your show if they're talking about it. And you want to encourage your audiences to tell their friends about that. So add to social media. Your friends, their friends are going to share it out and comment and everything. So that's going to, give you a little bit of word of mouth there as well. Mingle with your audience after the show. So that gives it a little bit more of a personal touch too. So they're obviously going to then communicate with you. They're going to like that. And then they'll tell their friends to go see you because they like you as well. Share ticket buyer reviews as well. That kind of is covered in what I just said a moment ago. Do some publicity stunts too. I think last year there was a show, Simon David, White Gay. He did a really great trailer type thing, but he asked all of his audience to give him really bad reviews. So then they were like, oh my God, this show must be terrible. I have to go and see it. He did, yeah. He was right. He bumped into me. That was the first time I actually met him. So he had flyers. He was flying for his own event in little roller skates, and it was, you couldn't miss him really. Collect with local press as well. Again, like as Rhiannon mentioned, maybe writing a good press release to send to local magazines. They're obviously going to generate a bit of word of mouth for you as well. Social media, hashtags. You want to use hashtags to link everything together. We have hashtags for this year's Fringe, which is hashtag Curiously Fringe, and you can use hashtag Brighton Fringe too. And by doing that, we're going to see it and we can share things for you and generate a little bit more marketing for you that way. Be organized as well, because lots of people forget about platforms like Hootsuite, where you can schedule posts. You might not have the time to run around and do everything that you're doing, like rehearsing, whatever, marketing as well as on top of keeping on top of your social media. So, schedule some posts for when you're going through extremely busy times. Use a Brighton Fringe frame as well. You can download this from the website. It's I think you've all seen like a Facebook frame. That we have one, and it's just says I'm taking part. So then people that not necessarily know about Brighton Fringe will see your picture and then, inquire about Brighton Fringe, see that you're performing and come along. And if you have got some money as well, maybe think about some sponsored ads so you can target people on Facebook and Instagram. Cool. Collaboration. So what we advise you to do this year is maybe network with some Fringe participants. We do have something new called Hub Hangouts this year, which is going to be at the Ledwood Centre. So you can meet other Fringe participants, people that are putting on shows, maybe similar to yours or completely different. You can, go and see them if you have some spare time, go and see their shows, invite them to come to your shows, and then exchange some kind of collaborative work that way. That obviously will then link to maybe shout outs from performers at the end of their shows. So if you go and see a show that you really like, then you could, when your show finishes, say, go see this show because it was really good. And then it'll be a tip for tat kind of thing. They'll want to promote your show that way as well. Participant tickets. So you can turn these on at Advantage and basically what happens is 30 minutes prior to your show, these get released for other participants. They're free. They're only for participants, so they can come along and fill some seats. So you get a few more bums on seats that way. And then they'll come and see your show. And it's kind of a likewise thing. So speak to them after the show. And if they liked it, then you can arrange that shout out. It's called ticketing. So these are some ticket types that we have that you can obviously turn on, as well as the participant tickets on Advantage. So 2 for 1 ticket is pretty self-explanatory. It just means people that want to come and see your show have the option to buy 2 tickets for the price of 1. This way that they're probably likely to bring a friend along with them, which then in turn would increase that word of mouth that we were talking about. It's obviously, again, 2 people for the price of 1 too, so it does fill up your venue. Name your price tickets. So this is great because the audience can decide how much they want to contribute for a ticket price. In Brighton, no one's going to not pay a lot. It's quite common that people will pay around more than £5 normally for name your price ticket. Promo codes as well. If your show isn't selling as well as you'd hoped, you can get some promo codes out there. Maybe just do a little discount flash sale as well.
Sorry, George. Can I just throw in and say what's really great about name your price tickets is people will often pay above the minimum. It allows people who don't have a lot of money to come and see your show. So if you've got a show for students, for instance, maybe the students will pay a little bit less, but Brighton crowds will often pay way over what you're asking for. And it gets as many people seeing your show as possible. So maybe people that wouldn't be able to afford full price tickets can come. And I'd really recommend it to everyone. It's a really good way to get as many bums on seats as possible and get your show out there to a wider audience.
Awesome, thanks, Matt. Just to touch on promo codes once more. If you get in touch with the box office, they can set these up for you if that's something you're interested in doing. And for large group discounts, this, depending on your show and the audience that you're aiming at, you could really benefit from this. So if it's a comedy show that invites like more of a party group, so maybe stag and hen parties, and theatre events can invite some community groups, family shows can invite, groups of families. It's pretty self-explanatory there. Flyers and posters. So check out some local distribution companies if you can afford to, because this will help you. Again, if you're a bit busy during the Fringe, it's kind of a job that you can pass on, or doing this yourself will increase your word of mouth too, depending on how you want to do it. If you can't afford this, maybe head down a little bit earlier and distribute some advertising yourself, like go and chat to some people that work in pubs, cafes. They're going to help spread the word, because there's a lot of time that tourists will go into these places and ask what's going on. Flyers themselves, for this year, you will need a license to flyer. We're currently having the license-free zones confirmed at the moment, so we will communicate this to all the participants when we know. So make sure you're signed up for the newsletter. If you're not already, you can do it on the website and then take your preferences in there as well. Just helps you stay in the loop. QR codes as well, a really good way to give your audience a bit more ease when it comes to buying tickets. You can download this, you can get one for free online. It's called qrcodegenerator.com. I believe it's one for free, but we'll check that out. You can download that and then add it to your posters and flyers, and then people just need to hold their phone up to learn a bit more about your show, or head straight to the booking portal where they can buy tickets and attend. Listings. It's really good to have your show listed in different places, not just necessarily the Brighton Fringe website. People that visit different places before they go, like me, for example, I always check what's going on in the area. You can use a variety of hosts for this. So you can use Facebook, you can make your own Facebook event, and then if you add us as a co-host, it will list on our page as well. You can upload your listing to Visit Brighton for free and What's on Brighton as well. Again, these are huge tourist boards for people that are coming to Brighton that want to know what's going on. And lastly, I'm going to talk about an elevator pitch. So Brighton Fringe has so many opportunities for you to help elevate your show and generate a bit more interest for potential audiences, or the audience that you want to bring, and completely random audiences if that's what you're after too. For example, we have Fringe City and the Family Picnic. We are still confirming these dates, is that correct?
Yeah.
Work in progress, yeah. So once again, make sure you're signed up to the newsletters, because we will be sending out more information on those when they come. Absolutely, yeah. You'll have a little slot in the stage, and then that again expands your audience to people that might not have necessarily seen your posters or flyers, etc. There's a lot of pick of the fringe events happening as well. These happen around the city and they're kind of catered to specific genres, so comedy mainly, really, but there's also a lot of mixed bill lineups too, so make sure you're looking out for those types of things. There's lots on Facebook. Look for Facebook groups and start networking. I'll pass you now back over to Rhiannon, who's going to chat to you guys about working with the press.
Right, hello, back on. So let's go, working with the press. So we wanted to talk a little bit about do's and don'ts of working with the press. So we recommend sending a press release in the next couple of weeks. We'll be providing you with a media list for you to have a look at. Once you've sort of found your target audience on this media list of who you want to share your press release with, it's really great to put together this press release. And we've got a few do's and don'ts of what to do with that. We also have a press release template on our website, so you can check that out. We've linked it at the end of this this presentation. Firstly, we would just like to say, you should develop a press release that really grabs the reader's attention, and outline what makes your event special and what sets it apart from other people. Please make sure that you proofread your work. It will put journalists off if you have poor spelling and grammar, because they won't necessarily take the time to correct your spelling and grammar before they put it on the website, or they might just disregard your press release entirely and not put it on the website. So always make sure that you're proofing your work. Keep your press releases to the point. So journalists need to know who you are, what your show is about, where your show is, and what makes it special. It doesn't need to be 3 pages long, sort of 500 words maximum we're talking about. Make sure that you have high quality images that illustrate your show ready to go. Again, if you don't have high quality images, a journalist is less likely to put your press release up online, because they won't have sort of good enough images to illustrate the piece. So yeah, please make sure they are of good quality. Please only use sort of celebrity, famous actors, or whoever else's names as endorsements if they actually genuinely have a part of your show, whether it's producing or being involved. Again, journalists won't like it if they feel that they've had their sort of the wool pulled over their eyes and this person isn't actually as involved as you initially claimed. And we also recommend for your publicity material, so your press release and your images, to reach journalists around sort of 2 to 3 weeks before your show, so they have enough time to read it, digest it, and schedule it to go up online, but not so little time, well, so much time that they forget about your show. Couple of don'ts. So don't attach large image files to your press release. Include it in the body of the email. This clogs up journalists' inbox and they aren't very happy about it. They generally also either prefer you to write a press release in the body of an email or on a Word document. They don't like PDFs because it's not as easy to copy and paste and whack it on their website, so they prefer either of those 2 items. Try not to lead your press release with sort of over enthusiastic adjectives unless they come from genuine reviews. It doesn't look great when you're sort of using these adjectives. Journalists tend to not like that sort of style. So yeah, best to use either real reviews to open your press release, or just sort of leave the descriptive adjectives out. We also just wanted to reiterate that we really don't want people to panic about the media. Obviously, press is important, and it's a really great way to promote your show, but it's not the be all and end all. There's lots of things sort of going on in Brighton, and it is a very word of mouth city that is important. So as long as you're ticking a few of these boxes, not just press, you will get people to come and see your show. And also, please please don't harass journalists on Twitter. 1 or 2 tweets about your show is absolutely fine. Obviously, if you're trying to attract people to come down and watch, but yeah, don't launch into a campaign of asking them to come. Yep, so you can check out our press release template on the Brighton Fringe website. It's always great to include links that your show has to sort of current topics in the public psyche, so current affairs, whether, obviously the big one recently has been coronavirus, so anything that the journalists can create a story out of, they'd love to hear about. And as relevant as it is to current affairs, the better. Do include brief quotes from previous reviews of features. Include your social media handles so they can link to your social media for anybody interested. And also always include your listing information. Obviously, it goes without saying, but it's always best to mention it. Obviously, your venue, your ticket prices, your dates, and all that kind of information. I touched on this a minute ago. When we do send you the media list, which is coming in the next couple of weeks, we do recommend, rather than you sending your press release to that entire media list, sit down, have a look at the publications and think about who is going to be interested in your story. Obviously, if your show is sort of a late night risque cabaret, someone from a children's sort of What's On magazine is not going to be interested, so it's best not to email them. Think carefully about your title and your subject line when you're emailing these people. What will grab their attention? That's the first thing they're going to see in their inbox, so that's the best thing to take to spend some time thinking about. When you are emailing multiple journalists, please make sure that you use the BCC field and don't leave everybody's email exposed to other people, and just type your own email address into the to field. And we tend to recommend not sending your press release to multiple people at the same publication. Just pick one person and send it off to them. Right, I'm going to have a look in the chat at some more questions, see where I got up to. So do you have, oh, sorry, my screen is going. So, sorry. Do you have a press release to get reviews to come to show? Yeah, we will be sending that out in the next couple of weeks. George has just been working on that recently to make sure all the information on that is as up to date as it can be, so you're not sending any emails and getting out of office because somebody has moved on from the organisation. Nora, yes, workshops are accepted to be part of the Brighton Fringe programme. We do workshops, we do exhibitions, we do lots of different things rather than just sort of live performance pieces. Okay, so Holly has asked, how do you go about finding your audience if your show covers a specific theme? I think my show would appeal to a wide range of people, but my show focuses on a specific theme. So how would I find people who can relate to that? If you would like to have a chat with us about that, what I would recommend, obviously we would want to know what your theme was, and we could make some recommendations around where we think you should be targeting your finding your audience. You can always drop us an email on marketing@brightonfringe.org, and one of us can get back to you about our recommendations. We are running some marketing one-to-ones next week. They are now booked up, but we will be doing some more of those next month. So if anybody is wanting to book onto those, keep an eye, well, sign up to our participant newsletter again, and we can talk you through more sort of one-to-one on your event. But if you want to drop in what your theme is, we can make some recommendations in front of the group. Otherwise, feel free to send us an email. So is the pick of the Fringe an extra performance in a specific location? How do I go about applying to find out about it? So with the pick of the Fringe events and the sort of comedy events, I know, Stefania, you're booked onto one of our one-to-ones next week. We've made some notes around that. We can provide you with a directory of sort of open mic stand-up nights that you can get involved in. And with the Pick of the Fringe, there are just certain venues that run those and certain promoters. But if you let us, we can talk about that during your one-to-one, and we can let you know who those people are. Yeah, so there's things like Laughing Horse do a Pick of the Fringe. There's another one run called Best of the Fest. So there's lots of those sort of mixed bill lineup opportunities for you. Should we move on to the next section, Matt? So Matt's going to do the next little section for you. I will just go on mute.
Hi everyone. Appreciate that it's a long little chat.
Oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Sorry.
I can hear you. You can hear me? Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Can you mute yourself? Sorry about that. Come on.
I don't know where it's gone. Technical difficulties. It's literally, sorry. There we go.
Right, the presentation is now no longer on the screen,
It's
but
back now.
it's not on here. I apologize, everyone. Thank you all for bearing with us as well. I know there's like a lot of information to take in a very short amount of time, and we're ramming it at you. I'm going to talk briefly about budget and timetable. Budget is important, so important to talk about your budget, and just think about what you're going to be spending. You do not need to be spending lots of money to advertise your show, but just make sure before you go about spending money that you really think about how much you want to spend, and just don't go over that. Make sure you're listing down how much things are costing you, and try and go out and shop about beforehand. Before you start spending money, look around and find the best deals, because you can find really cheap deals for like print and all sorts. Just if you have a little look around, especially in Brighton, we've got contacts with some really good printers who love Brighton Fringe so much that they do discounts for everybody who takes Brighton Fringe. I think that comes up a bit later actually, but just shop about. Don't dive straight in and think you've got to spend loads of money to sell your shows. Some of the most successful shows I've ever seen at Fringe are people who literally just go out and talk to people about their shows. It's the best way to go about it. But yeah, for budget, mainly just make sure that you stick to it. Okay, but don't get over the top. Next up, we got timetable. Before you go into doing all your marketing, make sure you set out a timetable for how you want to do things. It doesn't need to take you a lot of time. If there's a few of you in your group, allocate things. So if somebody's doing your social media, spend an hour a day on social media. If that, you can sit down, you can plan out everything that you want to tweet beforehand and send that out to everyone. You can schedule tweets, or if you don't have a tweet scheduler or like post scheduler, just make a little Excel sheet or something, write down everything you want to post out for the next month, and then you just have to copy and paste it. And then for other things, timetabling, get someone else in the group to think about how long it's going to take to get all your print stuff ready, and just don't leave it all to the last minute. Okay, please don't leave it to the last minute. And at the end, this is really important. Evaluate your event. Like, how did your marketing go, and what would you do next time for other festivals? If you want to come back next year, try and stick to targets, set targets, and see how you could improve on them. Final thoughts. Okay, so final thoughts to you. I've been around Fringe for a while now, and I just want to give you my favorite tips on how to sell your show. Start off with, just be nice to everyone. Just really get immersed in Fringe. It's such an amazing community of people and shows, and we've got so many different things on. Go and try and see as many different things as possible, and interact with other artists, and you're going to discover some of the best things out there ever. Go chat to box office staff. I used to work in box office. When I used to work in a box office, you get people coming up to me every day being like, well, what would you recommend? What's good on today? And there's literally hundreds of shows every day. And I would always recommend for shows that had come and spoken to me and said, hey, this is my show, I'm doing this, can you tell people about it? And they'd be friendly to me, and then someone would come and say, hey, what's a good show? And I remember that person, and I was like, oh, they were cool, let's sell their show. So go and chat to other people and they'll recommend your show. Just go out there and really get involved with it. At the end of the show, whenever you do a show, encourage everyone to go and tell their friends, like really just, hey guys, thanks so much for coming, tell your friends. And trust me, the people of Brighton love that, and they will go tell their friends. Right, I'm going to finish off now quickly talking about some of the advertising options we have open. We've got lamppost boards that go on lampposts all around Brighton City. They're nearly sold out, but they're a really good source of advertising. £31, and they go up for the entirety of Fringe and beforehand, all over the city. But we have the last few left. So if there is something you wanted, get in contact soon. We've got website advertising. That costs £20 to be put on our site, and that gets over the course of Fringe, like 250,000 250,000 clicks. So that's really good for £20. I'd recommend that. We've got poster boards that go up, and it's £12 a week. Now that's really cheap, and they go up on New Road. If you know Brighton, it's so much foot traffic on New Road. It's where all the tourists are. It's where the high street is, where it's such a good place for £12 for the week. I'd recommend that. We've still got lots of places for that. And we have email advertising as well. George puts out a new email every week, sends it out, and you can be on that, and we'll recommend your show to people. And that's another really great way if you've got the budget for that. But honestly, poster boards are great. Gemini Print, they're our print partner I was talking about. If you mention that you're from Brighton Fringe, they'll give you a 10% discount. They print all our stuff for us. They're really lovely people over there. So if you do have stuff to print, I'd recommend go talking to them. But do shop about. If you find someone better, that's great. But they are lovely, and I'm sure they'll sort you out a deal. Yeah. Also, if you've got use our toolkit. Sorry, I'm seeing this here. We'll send this out to everyone, and it's got all our social media frames, our press release template, and all our contacts. So please use that. We'll send this out later on. But mainly, if you need any help with anything, please get in contact with us, because we love Fringe so much. We want to help everyone just have the best event ever. We want you all to sell out and do really well and just have the best Fringe experience. So you come back every year and just have a great time, and you really see how amazing it is. But yeah, email us, please. We love it.
All right. Matt is our #1 Fringe mascot. He has been working at the Fringe for several years, and he is very passionate about Fringe. You can always reach out to us. Yeah, so you can always reach out to us on the best way to get in touch with us is marketing@brightonfringe.org. Obviously, we will try our best to help you. You know, we have hundreds of events. We generally focus on raising awareness around the festival and promoting the festival as a whole, but we're obviously always here if you want to reach out, if you want to sort of pick our brains about anything, or you want any advice on anything, please feel free to shoot us an email, and we'll do our best. And we will also we haven't picked a date yet, but we will be running some further one-to-ones in April. So as we said earlier, it is best to sign up to our participants email so that you get to see that information. There is a participants networking group on Facebook, which is run by our participant services team. But that is a great place to find out all the information about what's going on in Fringe. So just have a look at some more questions. What is the turnaround of reviews generally? So generally speaking, obviously, it depends who your review is from. We have obviously a lot of people journalists who come to our Fringe from publications like Broadway Baby, Fringe Reviewer, people like that, and they understand the nature of Brighton Fringe and that it is different to Edinburgh, where you may have longer runs. Generally, people at Brighton Fringe tend to have shorter runs, so they do understand the significance of turning around those reviews and getting them published quickly. But otherwise, with more sort of generic sort of publications. So say you were going to get someone from so like our local newspaper, the Argus, and things like that, the turnaround will generally be slower because they're not in the industry and they don't understand how important it is to shows to get those reviews up online as soon as possible. Is it the same for the same time frame for inviting agents and casting directors as it is for journalists, i.e. invite them 2 to 3 weeks before? I'd say it's a bit more varied. I'd say sort of agents and casting directors tend to have their diaries booked up a bit more in advance, whereas reviewers will either be travelling down specifically for Brighton Fringe or already be in the city. So I would say if they're not local agents or casting directors, definitely give them more like 4 to 6 weeks notice if you will want to be inviting them to the show. If they are local, obviously a shorter time frame is more appropriate, and you can invite them a couple of weeks before. Is booking for the poster boards open? So yes, so basically we were waiting on a update from Eventitron, which happened late this afternoon. So we have just been tweaking at little bits this afternoon. So it is technically open and you can book them. But if you run into any bugs, please let us know, because we've literally just got that online and we were going to announce it, I think tomorrow morning. Participant services were going to send out an email. So yeah, they are open to book and everything, all the advertising. I would wait until tomorrow morning, just in case we have any bugs, to check out all the advertising options that are on Eventitron now. So everything should be up there, from emails, poster boards, lampposts, all of it should be on there, and you can make your payment through Eventitron as well. It's an update that we'd been hoping for months, and it's finally here. So we're very pleased, because it saves us a lot of admin, but we're very happy about it. But yeah, thank you, Stefania and Holly, for your kind words. But I think that's everything we've got for today, unless you two have anything else you'd like to say.
Thank you so much. Please email me. I live for it.
He does. He really
All
does.
I do is read emails. It makes me cry.
He lives for Fringe.
This is my first Fringe.
And this is George's first Fringe, so he's very excited to get involved. This is my second or third, so I'm also, I feel like I'm seasoned now. But we really hope this has been helpful for you guys. We'll get a list of participant services of all of you guys who attended or signed up tomorrow morning, and we'll send this presentation out to you. And in the meantime, please feel free to give us a shout, and we will do our best to help you out. But yeah, right. Bye-bye, everybody.